so glad that you're back for another lesson about an attribute of God. Okay, so to introduce today's attribute, I wanted to play a little game called Who is the Expert? Yeah, so we're each going to pick something that we think we're the expert on.
Okay.
And then we're going to kind of like test each other on that. Okay, so I'll go first so you know how to play. Okay, so I am kind of a math expert. Like I know just about everything when it comes to math.
Really?
Yes, so.
Like what?
Okay, how about this? If you want to find the surface area of a rectangular prism, you multiply 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height.
Yeah, okay.
Right, that's for the rectangular prism.
Okay.
But if you want to find the surface area of a cylinder, it's 2 times pi times the radius times the sum of the height plus the radius.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, I'm the math expert, you know?
All right. Okay, I got something for you. If you're such an expert, tell me how many pieces of hair do you have in your head?
On my head?
Bam. Number. Give me a number. Math. Counting.
Well, that's hard to tell because, I mean, it's kind of impossible. I lose hair all the time. Like, you know, it just kind of comes out like a hairbrush.
Right now.
Right this second?
Yeah.
I mean, that would take me a long time and I'd probably get bored trying to, and then another. That's.
Yeah, so not quite the math expert.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm not quite a math expert, but that's kind of impossible.
Well, I don't know. God says in Matthew 10:30 that the hairs on our head are numbered. Like he knows how many hairs you have right now on your head.
Okay.
Right now. He can be like.
All right, you got me. You got me. Okay, so God is probably better at math than I am.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's your turn. What are you an expert in?
I got it. To infinity and beyond. Buzz Lightyear ain't got nothing on me. Let's go. Space. Let's do it.
Oh, you know a lot about space.
That's right.
All right, well, let's hear something you know.
Well, I know that neutron stars have a radius of 10 kilometers, a mass of a few times greater than the sun, and can spin as fast as 600 times per second.
That sounds pretty fast. I didn't know that.
Yeah. One more.
Okay.
And that sun, boom, is 93 million miles from the Earth. Light from the sun travels at 186,000 miles per second. And it takes 8 minutes, just 8 minutes for that long way to get to us.
Wow. All right, well, you do sound quite a bit like an expert. Okay, so I got a question for you, expert, space expert Buzz Lightyear. How many stars are there in the universe? Because I've always wanted to know that, so.
Nobody knows that. There's just too many stars out there. There's a whole many galaxies. We don't have the equipment to go see all those stars out there.
Well, actually, did you know that in Psalms, the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 4, it says that God counts the number of stars and he calls them by name. So God knows every single star that exists because he made it. And he even has names for all of them.
Okay.
So you're pretty good at space, but I don't know if you would be an expert.
I don't know everything about it, I guess.
I think what we figured out is I don't know everything about math. I do know a lot, but I don't know everything about math. You don't know everything about space, but you know a lot, but you don't know everything. But God knows everything about math. God knows everything about space, and God knows everything about everything. There's a fancy word for that. Like when we say God is all-knowing, we can also say God is, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Omniscient. Can you say that?
Omniscient.
No, not you. Can you say that? God is omniscient. Yeah, kind of a hard word to say. So when we talk about how God knows everything, we can talk about how God knows everything, like in the universe. He knows everything about every animal, about every plant, about every human. But then he also knows every single thing about you. Now here's kind of the scary part. You ready? God knows the things that you think. Yeah, the things you think, even if you don't say them out loud. So today our story is about how God knew everything about a certain person in the Bible. And that person is David. And David is going to go on, after this part of the story, David goes on to become king, and he writes a good part of the book of Psalms. Oh, like we just quoted a verse from Psalms. David ends up writing a lot of the Psalms, and David is actually characterized, God calls him a man after his own heart. So this is kind of where David's story begins. And I want you to see how God knew how special David was going to be from the beginning, even though nobody else knew it yet. So let's check out the story of how David gets started and he is anointed as king.
So Samuel did what the Lord said and went to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town trembled at his coming and said, "Do you come peaceably?" And he said, "Peaceably, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. So it was when they came that he looked at Eliab and said, "Surely the Lord's anointed is before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or at his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For the man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Then Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Thus Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen these." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all the young men here?" Then he said, "There remains yet the youngest, and there he is keeping the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him, for we will not sit down till he comes here." So he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy with bright eyes and good looking. And the Lord said, "Arise, anoint him, for this is the one." Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward.
Wow, that was so cool that he picked David.
Yeah, David out of all those brothers.
I know some of the brothers looked really big and strong. You would think for a king, you would want somebody big and strong. But I want to read a verse from the actual story here in 1 Samuel chapter 16. When God was speaking to Samuel, he said, "For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." And I think that's a cool verse for us to remember today. That God's not looking at our outward appearance all the time. He's looking at what's going on inside of our heart.
Yes.
And that's something that nobody else can see, but God sees everything because he knows everything. So, I got something to kind of show you what I'm talking about. This is a marker. What color is this marker?
Black.
It is black. It even says it is black right there. So this is just a regular marker. I want you to draw a picture of your face. So,
No hair.
does it look just like him? Okay, so there's Mr. Mike. He has been drawn with a black marker, right? So we could say Mr. Mike drew his picture in black, right? So this verse is talking about how God looks at the heart and what's on the inside. Would you be surprised to know that this black marker was not actually made up with the color black? It's made up of different colors. So if we, so I'm gonna put you right in here. You're gonna get a little bit blurry. See, from the outside, somebody just looking, they would say, "Oh, it's a black marker. You drew that in a black marker." But if God looks at the heart, he looks beyond just what you can see from the outside. He sees what makes us up on the inside. So just like this marker, I'm starting to see some different colors come up. Do you see some different colors?
Well, I do.
Let me put it down. Hold it up here. Some different colors. So this black marker, can you tell us what kind of colors you see there, Mr. Mike?
I see a little bit of red or pink, some green, Wow. This is pretty cool, guys.
Yep. And as the water keeps working up the paper towel, you can actually do this at home. You'll see, I think I'm starting to see a little bit of yellow here.
Wow, it is.
Yeah, so there's different colors that actually made up this marker. And I wanted to use this to remind you that even though from the outside you might look a certain way, God looks at the heart and what's on the inside.
That's
so
so
on the
cool.
outside, it might look like you're being nice to your siblings, like maybe every time your parents are around, you're being nice and you're being helpful, but then as soon as your parents can't see you and you start poking them or kicking them when your parents can't see, that's what's going on the inside. You're really waiting for ways to get back at them or ways to make them mad.
Oh man, so also thinking about how God sees what's on the inside, this reminds me of our story. So when God was looking at the brothers, and then the dad was like, oh, this one, like, why would he be the one that you would want to pick? But God was looking at the inside, not the outside. He knew what David was all about and knew he was going to be a good king.
So what we want you to get from today is that God knows everything. God knows your thoughts. God knows what you've done in the past. He knows what you're going to do in the future. So we can trust God with our life because he knows everything.
Yes.
And he has a plan for us. The Bible also says that. So, special challenge time.
Let's go.
When God looks at you and he looks at your heart, what do you want God to see? Do you want God to see a person that loves other people? Do you want God to see a person who trusts him? Do you want God to see a person who loves him with all of his heart, who has strong faith? What do you want God to see when he looks at your heart? I want you to pick one thing. Like, oh, when God looks at my heart, I want him to see, and drop it in the comments. Let us know what you want God to see when he looks at your heart. And may that be something that you strive to do.
All right.
All right.
Looking
See you
forward
guys
to
next
it.
week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.